A storm, a mark, and a Mistakathy rain hit like silver needles, slicing through the dark as thunder cracked across the mountains. Luna ran. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her boots sliding in the mud, heart pounding so loud she couldn't hear the branches snapping behind her anymore. She didn't know what was chasing her, only that something ancient and angry had stirred the second she stepped into that cursed forest. This wasn't just a storm. It was a calling. She should never have come to Wolfpine Hollow, but she had nowhere else to go. No family, no future, just a broken engagement, a shattered trust, and an aching wound in her chest that wouldn't close. She'd come here to escape, to stay in the forgotten cabin her grandmother left her, the one no one dared visit anymore. Except now she understood why. The wind howled, but louder still was the growl that came from the shadows behind her, low, deep, primal, not human, not animal, something in between. Luna turned, eyes wide, and that's when she saw them. Two wolves, massive, glowing eyes, one white as moonlight, the other dark as obsidian. They stood 10 paces apart on the path, fur bristling, breath steaming in the cold. They weren't fighting, they were waiting for her. Her legs froze, lightning flashed, and in that brief burst of silver, she saw something impossible. The white wolf bowed its head, and her soul burned. Pain lanced her spine, sharp and blinding. She screamed, dropping to her knees as light erupted from her palm. A glowing crescent marked the mark of the moon goddess flared into life on her skin. She clutched her chest, her heart. It didn't beat alone anymore. She felt it split, torn into directions, as if fate had chosen for her. Twice. 2 bonds, 2 mates, 2 fates, and she could already feel herself breaking. 24 hours earlier, the bus dropped her off at the edge of Wolfpine just after sunset. The town had been swallowed by overgrowth and mist, its one gas station closed, its diner blinking with a single buzzing light. She barely recognized it. This was her mother's birthplace, the place she'd only heard whispered stories about as a child. Tales of wolves, curses, and moon-chosen bloodlines. She hadn't believed them, until now. Luna hugged her coat closer, gripping the rusted cabin key in her pocket. She'd inherited the place after her grandmother died. The will had been specific. Return only if you are ready to face what you've denied. Cryptic. Classic grandma. The cabin was miles from town, deep in the forest. She had planned to walk the road, but something about the sky had shifted. Clouds had rolled into fast. The air had changed, thick with static and something else. Something wild. She had felt it the moment she crossed the county line. A pulse. Like her blood knew something her mind did, and single quotes T.by the time she reached the cabin. Her clothes were soaked and her hands trembling. But she was alive, alone, free, no lies. No fianc who only wanted her trust fund. No family who pretended she didn't exist. Just Luna, and the quiet. But that peace didn't last long. The dreamt that night, beneath the full moon, she dreamed of fire and fur, of 2 voices whispering in a forgotten tongue, of gold eyes glowing from the trees and hands warm, rough cradling her face. One heart cannot serve 2 moons, child, a voice said. You must choose. She woke up gasping, and that's when she saw it. The faint silver mark on her palm. It hadn't been there yesterday. Back to the present, the moment of Fataluna lay in the mud, shaking, as the storm began to pass. The wolves were still there, closer now. The white one stepped forward. Its eyes were piercing, familiar, somehow, comforting. But the black one growled, low and warning, and she felt it like a dagger through her chest. That pull again to forces, equal and opposite, dragging her in both directions, and then suddenly they shifted. Her scream caught in her throat. They became men, naked, otherworldly, radiant with the power of their forms. One tall and ethereal, with snow-white hair and a voice like velvet thunder. The other dark, sharp-edged, golden-eyed, his body all lean strength and fury. She stared at them, heart stuttering, and then the white-haired one spoke. You are ours. But the other snarled. No, she's mine. The moon marked her for me. The white one narrowed his eyes. You would defy the will of the goddess? I would defy anyone who tries to take what's mine. Luna scrambled to her feet. Wait, what is happening? What did you do to me? They both looked at her. You carry the bond, the white-haired one said. You are moon-bound to us both. That's not possible, she whispered. It is, the darker one growled. But it shouldn't be. And then he turned and vanished into the trees, gone, just like that. Luna clutched her glowing palm, breath ragged, eyes locked on the stranger with silver hair still watching her. What now? She asked, voice cracking. His gaze softened. Now, Luna, now you learn what it means to have two mates and how choosing the wrong one could end everything. A stranger in the woodsy storm had passed. Sunlight streamed through the mist the next morning, painting the forest in golden halos. The trees whispered in the breeze, but the world felt changed, more awake, more aware. Luna stood on the porch of the cabin, arms folded tightly around her chest. She hadn't slept. Her mind replayed the night over and over. The mark, the wolves, the men, the choice she wasn't ready to make. Two mates, two soul bonds. It wasn't just impossible, it was dangerous. The stories her grandmother had whispered came crawling back now with cruel clarity, of moon-bound women torn apart by destiny's cruelty, of shifters cursed to madness if their mate chose another. She had been marked, and something in her blood had responded. She looked at the faint silver crescent on her palm. It pulsed subtly, like it had a heartbeat of its own. She had to find answers. The town of Shadow Swolfine Hollow had once been a logging town, but most of the industry dried up decades ago. Now it was more myth than map. A scattering of cabins, a dusty general store, and a coffee shop that doubled as the local post office. Luna made her way into town by late morning, wearing a hoodie to hide the mark. The locals stared, not with suspicion, more like recognition, like they already knew her story. A tea, the corner store, an old woman stocking shelves met Luna's gaze. With narrowed eyes, "You're Cassandra's girl," she said simply. Luna nodded slowly. "She was my grandmother." "Then you shouldn't be here." Luna frowned. "Why not?" "She broke the pact when she left, brought her bloodline back into the forest when the moon goddess had warned her never to." "I don't believe in all that," Luna said, though her voice shook. The woman only smiled, a brittle, pitying thing. "You will." The calf encounter. She was halfway through a cup of bitter black coffee when the bell over the calf door rang and time stopped. He stepped in like he owned the room, tall, broad-shouldered, effortlessly commanding. His dark hair was tousled like he'd just walked out of a windstorm, and his golden eyes scanned the calf like a predator hunting scent. Luna felt it immediately, that unmistakable, bone-deep pull. Her heart thundered. It was him, the dark wolf, but he was in jeans and a leather jacket, walking like any other man, except he wasn't. She could feel the power in him, barely contained under his skin. He didn't notice her at first, until he ordered his coffee, turned and stopped. His gaze collided with hers, and Luna forgot how to breathe. For a moment, they just stared. The tension between them was electric, coiled, heavy with something unspoken. Then slowly, he walked over and sat at her table without asking. "Hello, Luna," he said. She blinked. "How do you know my name?" "You told me," he said, "last night, before you passed out." Her stomach dropped. What?" He smiled faintly. "It's a lot to take in. You're him." "The wolf," she whispered. "The dark one." He inclined his head. "Ronan. Is that your real name?" "It's the only one I answer to." Luna gripped her coffee cup tighter, trying to still the tremble in her hands. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing you're not already feeling." Her cheeks flushed. "Excuse me?" "You sense it. The bond. It's already inside you." She stood. "You need to leave." But he didn't move. His voice dropped lower, quieter. "Running won't stop it, Luna. The moon doesn't care if you're ready. She marked you. Marked us both." "Both," she repeated hollowly. "The white wolf, Lucian," Ronan said, his jaw tightening. "What is he to you?" "Pack," he said with a scoff. "Brother, enemy, depends on the century." "You expect me to choose between you?" "No," Ronan said, rising slowly to meet her gaze. "I expect you to survive it. But if you pick wrong," he leaned closer, his voice a growl, "it'll tear you apart." Luna backed away. The calf had gone quiet. No one looked at them, but she could feel the weight of eyes everywhere, like the entire town was watching. "I didn't ask for this," she said, her voice cracking. "No one ever does." A memory that wasn't hers. Back at the cabin, Luna tried to collect herself, but her body still thrummed with energy, her skin hot where Ronan's eyes had lingered. And that night, she dreamed again. Not of wolves this time, but of a girl who looked like her, standing under the same moon, choosing between two men. One kissed her forehead, the other kissed her wrist. One offered her the forest, the other freedom, and she had chosen wrong. When Luna woke, her pillow was damp with tears. Back to the wood. She didn't know why she went back to the clearing where it all began. Maybe to find clarity, maybe to scream at the sky. Instead, she found him, Lucian. He was standing by the water's edge, bare-chested, silver hair glowing under the afternoon sun. He didn't look surprised to see her. "You came. I didn't know I would," she said. "You always come back here," he murmured, not turning around. She frowned. "What do you mean, always?" Lucian turned slowly, his eyes full of something that stole the air from her lungs: regret, longing, recognition. "Because this isn't the first time you've been marked, Luna. Not for me." Her breath caught. "I don't understand. You will," he said, stepping closer. "I only ask you not to give your heart away before you remember who truly holds it." Luna touched her mark. "Are you saying we knew each other before? In a different life," he whispered. "One the moon is trying to mend." And then he leaned in slowly, like she could stop him at any moment, but she didn't. Their foreheads touched, and something clicked inside her. A memory, a kiss, a vow under the stars, then blackness. Chapter begins. Luna didn't remember walking back to the cabin. Her skin still tingled where Lucian's breath had warmed her face, and the memory of the forest shimmered behind her eyelids every time she blinked. What had he meant that she'd lived before? That she'd been marked before? And why did it feel true? She gripped the edge of the sink and stared at her reflection. Her cheeks were flushed, lips parted like she'd been kissed, only she hadn't been. Not really. So why did her body feel like it remembered? And why did she feel like she'd betrayed something just by letting Lucian get so close? Grandmother's books. That night, she went through every one of her grandmother's old trunks in the attic. The moonlight illuminated old herbal bundles, leather journals, and faded photographs. Her grandmother, Cassandra, had been a healer and possibly more than that. She had always warned Luna that the hollow wasn't safe, that the woods had rules. Blood remembers. That was what Cassandra always said. Now, that phrase echoed through Luna's mind like a warning bell. She flipped through a journal labeled "Luna Write," and there, scrawled in Cassandra's flowing script, was a list of forbidden lore. 2 marks mean divided souls. Fated bonds can tear a mind in two. Only one bond can survive the claiming. The choice must be made under the full moon, or all 3 will suffer. Luna sat back on her heels. All 3. Strange. Changes was changing. She could feel it in her senses, in the way she could hear the scrape of claws in the trees, or how her dreams bled into waking life. Her body hummed with energy, her mark pulsing like it had its own will. Something ancient was waking inside her, something that didn't feel human, and she was drawn to both men with an intensity that made her question her sanity. When Lucian looked at her, she felt safe, but when Ronan looked at her, she felt like she was on fire, and both gazes made her want to run toward them. Not away. A visit from the past. Days later, she was stacking wood outside the cabin when a stranger arrived. A woman, tall, ethereal, with ice blonde hair and eyes that glowed faintly silver. She wore black leather and boots caked in mud. Luna recognized her immediately, though she'd never met her before. Kira. The name dropped into her head without warning. Kira tilted her head. "You don't remember me, do you?" Luna swallowed hard. "Should I?" The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "I was Lucian's mate. Before you. The world spun." "What?" "Before this life. Before this second chance," Kira said, stepping closer. "He loved me once, until the moon gave you back." Luna stepped back. "You're lying." Kira laughed softly. "Am I? Then tell me, Luna, why does your soul remember him, but your mind does not?" The woman's presence was chilling, not just in attitude but in aura. She smelled of old magic and betrayal. Luna didn't trust her. Kira's tone turned bitter. "You think fate is kind, but it isn't. It chooses, and it never cares who gets destroyed in the choosing." Then she turned and disappeared into the woods, her words lingering in the air like frostbite. Tension in the pines. That night, Luna heard it again, scratching. But this time, she grabbed a flashlight and went out to meet it. The forest was quiet, at first. Then came the soft crack of a branch to her left. And then Luna. She spun to see Ronan emerge from the shadows. He looked wild tonight, shirtless, his torso marred with fresh scratches that gleamed silver in the moonlight. His golden eyes locked onto hers, and for the first time, Luna saw something in them that terrified her. Fear. "What happened to you?" He didn't answer. He reached out, cupping her cheek with a gentleness that didn't match the wildness in his body. "You shouldn't be out here alone." "Not now." "Why? Who did this to you?" He hesitated. "Lucian wasn't the only one drawn to your mark." Her blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" "There are others who want your soul bond. To twist it, to break it. You don't know what you've walked into, Luna. And you do." Ronan's jaw clenched. I've lived long enough to know how this ends. And I've already lost you once. I won't let it happen again. She stepped back. I never belonged to you. His voice cracked just barely. You did. In another life. You were mine. Haunted by dreams that night, her dreams came in flashes memories. That weren't hers. Her feet bare on forest moss, a blade pressed to her palm, sealing a blood oath, 2 wolves circling her under a silver moon, one white, one black, and a voice whispering, choose, or the forest will choose for you. She woke gasping, and found herself no longer alone. Lucian sat at the edge of her bed, shirtless, glowing faintly under the moonlight streaming through the open window. His silver eyes were dark with something unreadable. I felt your fear, he whispered. Luna couldn't breathe. You were dreaming of the right, he said. Of the moment it all fractured. Her hands trembled. Tell me what happened. He looked away. We were both yours. You were a rare soul, marked twice. But when the moon forced you to choose, Luna leaned forward. I chose wrong. Lucian nodded once. And we all died for it. The edge of Memoriliana stood at the mirror later, staring at her face. Something in her features had begun to change, sharpen, glow. She touched the crescent mark on her hand, now pulsing faster. She didn't know who she had been. She didn't know who to trust. But she knew one thing with bone-deep certainty. Something was coming. And this time, the wrong choice wouldn't just hurt her. It would end everything. Luna didn't sleep again after the dream. After Lucian's visit. After the way his eyes had held grief so old it felt fossilized. The morning came gray and cold, and still, she stood at the edge of the forest, wrapped in her grandmother's quilt and shivering not just from the chill, but from everything she'd learned. 2 lives, 2 mates, and a choice that had already broken her once. She heard him before she saw him. Ronan. His footfalls were heavier than Lucian's, more grounded, but quieter than any human should be. That alone should have frightened her, but it didn't. He came to stand beside her, silent. The sunrise painted his scarred skin in gold, and his eyes, usually burning, were soft. You look like her, he said. Luna turned. Who? Your past self, the one who bore the mark before. He smiled faintly. Same fire in the eyes, same stubborn jaw. She looked away. I don't remember her. No, he said, voice thick, but I do. A broken Bonthi walked in silence along the stream near the cabin. The trees bowed overhead, filtering the soft light and enclosing them in a world apart. Luna finally asked the question that had been pressing against her ribs for days. What happened back then? Ronan hesitated. Then, in a low voice, he began to speak. You were powerful more than you are now. Your magic hadn't been diluted by mortality yet. You were chosen by the moon goddess herself to bear dual marks. That never happens. Luna frowned. Why me? He shrugged. Some say it was punishment, others say it was a test. But whatever the reason, you belong to both of us, Lucian and me, and I had to choose. Yes, he said, at the right, under the blood moon. But you couldn't, or maybe you did and regretted it. I don't know. His gaze hardened. What I do know is that the choice killed you. Your soul shattered. We couldn't stop it. Luna swallowed. But I'm here now. You are, he said, and the moon gave you back, which means you have another chance to ruin everything again. He stopped walking. No, he said, turning to her. Another chance to heal the scar beneath the surface. Cellar, back at the cabin, she handed him tea chamomile, the way her grandmother made it. He looked surprised. You remember her recipes? He asked. Some of them, others, feel like instinct. They sat by the fire, warmth flickering between them. Ronan had removed his jacket, revealing more of the silver scars crisscrossing his chest. Luna didn't mean to stare. He caught her gaze and answered without her having to ask. Silver wounds. From the night we lost you. She blinked. Silver? Hunters used it, but also rogue shifters. Those who wanted your power. Why? He looked away. Because anyone who controls a soul-bonded mate can wield more than magic. They can command fate. Luna shuddered. I couldn't protect you, he said. Finally. And when I found you hit was left of you, I swore if I ever got the chance again, I'd never let you go. Lucian's shadow. That night, Ronan slept on the couch, not because she asked him to, but because he knew instinctively she needed space. She watched him from the hallway, his broad form curled under a blanket, one arm hanging off the side like a sleeping wolf guarding the den. She should have felt invaded. Instead, she felt safer than she had in weeks. Still, she dreamed of Lucy and Dot in the dream. They were on a cliff, the sea raging beneath them. He held her wrist as she dangled above the rocks, his face strained, not with effort but with guilt. I failed you too, he said. But you chose me. She screamed something she didn't understand and then let go. She woke gasping. The Book of Marksby morning. The dream had faded into fog, but the sense of urgency remained. She rummaged through more of Cassandra's journals and found one marked with a silver ribbon. Inside, illustrations of different marks, rituals, fated bonds. She flipped to a page labeled The Binding of Two. To Marks, one soul. In rare cycles, the moon chooses to anchor a soul to two protectors to mates to reflect the split paths of destiny. Only one bond may thrive. If neither is chosen, the soul fractures, and all three perish. Luna traced the ink with trembling fingers. She was the anchor, and she was running out of time. A moment of stillness later that afternoon, Ronan returned with supplies: herbs, canned goods, dried meat. He placed them on the counter like he'd done it 100 times before. She caught herself watching him again, how his movements were deliberate, steady, like someone who'd spent years preparing for danger. You always take care of people? She asked. He smirked. Only the ones who matter. And I matter? You did, he said softly. You do. The warmth in his voice cracked something open inside her, not because it was romantic, but because it was real. Trust is a coercive. That night, they sat by the fire again. This time, she moved closer. I'm scared, she admitted. Good, he said. It means you're not foolish. She smiled slightly. That's not very comforting. He looked over. What do you need to feel safe? It was a simple question, but no one had ever asked her that before. She didn't answer right away. Finally, she whispered, truth, time, and the promise that no one will make me choose before I'm ready. Ronan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. Then I swear on the moon I'll never force you. She blinked. You still love me, don't you? He gave a small, sad smile. In every lifetime. And for the first time, she didn't flinch. Chapter begins. Peace didn't last. By the end of the week, the snow had melted just enough to reveal the dirt road winding down the mountain and fresh tracks heading toward the cabin. Not Ronan's, not Lucian's. Luna crouched near the edge of the tree line, her pulse thudding, paw prints massive, misshapen, dug deep into the mud. 3 sets. Not wolves she recognized. When she told Ronan, he went still. Rogues, he growled. They've caught your scent. Shadows in the treespy nightfall. Ronan had reinforced the wards, laying ash and salt in a crescent around the cabin. He spoke in low, guttural tones in a language older than English, older than memory. Luna helped, scattering dried heather and placing moonstones at the base of the trees. What are they after? She asked. You, he said. And what you represent. She touched the place on her chest where her soul mark burned beneath the skin. Is it the bond? Ronan nodded. Your bond with Lucian and me is a cosmic tether. Whoever controls it, controls you. And if the balance tips too far in one direction, it could tear the whole shifter realm apart. She froze. You never said it. Was that serious? I didn't want to scare you. She laughed bitterly. Too late. The warning that night, they were visited by something far worse than rogues. Lucian. He came at midnight, half-shifted, eyes burning silver. You need to leave, he said the moment Ronan opened the door. Luna stood behind him, clutching a fire poker. Not that it would help against a full-blooded alpha. Why? Ronan asked, arms crossed. Lucian's chest heaved. Because Cyrus knows. He's on his way. Ronan's jaw tensed. The Crimson Hollow Alpha? Lucian nodded grimly. He caught wind of the soul-bound girl hiding in your woods. And he wants her for his own. Luna stepped forward. Why? Because if he marks you, Lucian said slowly, he can destroy the entire mating law. He doesn't believe in fate. He believes in power. And you think I'll just let that happen? She snapped. No, Lucian said. But he doesn't need your permission. The Crimson Threat. The move that night, Ronan packed only essentials: herbs, weapons, silver-threaded clothing, and strapped them to his motorcycle. Lucian transformed into his wolf form and ran ahead as a scout. Luna rode behind Ronan, arms wrapped tightly around his torso as the wind whipped through the trees. Her heart beat too fast, every curve of the mountain a new threat. Hours later, they reached a hidden cave system near the cliffside. Ronan lit a lantern, revealing claw-carved walls and markings of old lunar worship. this place was built by the first soul marked, he explained. It's protected. From rogues? She asked. He looked at her. No, from destiny. The breaking point. Over the next few days, tensions flared. Lucien was always close, always watching her with eyes that knew too much. He said little, but the longing in him had grown almost feral. He slept outside the cave but never left the perimeter. Ronan, meanwhile, grew quieter, more distant. It came to a head when Luna caught them arguing deep in the woods, voices low, words sharp. You think because she chose you once, she'll do it again? Ronan growled. She still dreams of me, Lucien said, unmoved. Don't pretend you don't hear her call my name in her sleep. A tree cracked from the force of Ronan's punch. I won't fight you, Lucien. But if you try to force her hand, I'll end this. I'm not the one forcing anything, Lucien hissed. But if she dies again, her blood's on your hands. The decision looms. Back at the cave, Luna confronted them. I won't be your battleground, she said, trembling. I know this bond ties us together, but if you try to tear me in two again, I swear I'll walk into the ocean and let fate sort it out. Both men went silent. Lucien looked pained. Ronan stepped back, shame in his eyes. I don't want you because fate says I should, she said. I want to want you. I want it to be my choice. They nodded silently. For the first time, she felt like she had power. The attack, it came at dusk. She sensed it first, a chill down her spine, a sharpness in the air. Then came the howls, dozens of them. Ronan shoved her into the back of the cave, handing her a blade made of obsidian and silver. Don't use it unless you have to, he said. What about you? He shifted mid-stride, bones snapping as he took on his midnight furred wolf form, eyes glowing green. Then he was gone. Lucien appeared beside her seconds later, blood already on his claws. They broke through the wards, he said. He can't hold them all. I have to help. No, he placed his hand on hers. You have to survive. But she didn't listen. The fire within. She stepped into the clearing and time slowed. Ronan fought like a storm, slashing through 3 rogues at once. But more kept coming. Lucien joined him, their movements eerily in sync, back to back, fangs flashing. Then Luna raised her hand, and the moon answered. A burst of silver light erupted from her chest, pushing the rogues back, knocking them into the trees. The energy cracked the earth, turning the clearing into a pool of glowing magic. All went silent. Then, a voice, smooth, cold, terrifying, beautiful, said Cyrus, stepping into the light. The enemy appeared. She was tall, with silver hair and pitch black eyes, too black to be natural. His smile was cruel and slow. You've awakened the bond fully, he said. That makes things much easier, Lucien snarled. Ronan bared his teeth. Cyrus ignored them. You don't know what you are, he said to Luna. But I do. And I'll make you a goddess again if I have to rip it out of you piece by piece. Luna raised the blade. I'm not yours, she said. He smiled wider. We'll see. Luna found the journal at dawn. It wasn't Cassandra's. It was older, bound in cracked black leather and tied with red thread. A symbol she'd only seen once before, burned into Ronan's chest, was etched into the cover. She unknotted the thread with trembling fingers. Inside were pages of faded ink, drawn symbols, and entries in a language she didn't understand until suddenly she did. The letters shifted, twisted, rearranged themselves. The words glowed faintly gold. She read aloud. When the moon calls 2 souls to guard one, they are bound by blood, magic, and fate. But if the chosen soul denies her path, the threads will rot. Her power will turn inward. Death is the only end. Her heart stilled. Ancestral memories read further, devouring the entries. One spoke of her first life. Lunara, child of the moon, chosen to hold a gift so ancient that even the Pax feared it, the ability to bend fate with her choice. One mate would ascend with her, rising to Alpha King. The other would fall into madness, into exile, into death. Lucien had been the chosen heir. Ronan, the one meant to protect her heart. She chose Lucien, but fate wasn't swayed so easily. The bond rebelled. Ronan lost control of his wolf and went rogue for years. Lucien's pack turned on itself, and Lunara died during the eclipse. Trying to undo it all, confrontation, she waited until the fire had dimmed and the wind had picked up again, howling across the trees. Ronan was outside, splitting logs with his bare hands. When she stepped into the cold, he paused, his breath fogged. The air between them. You knew, she said. He looked down. You knew what I was, what happened to me, why I feel like I'm breaking in two every time I get close to either of you. Yes, you should have told me. I couldn't, he said, voice low. Not until you remembered enough on your own. It's part of the curse. Her eyes narrowed. Curse? The curse of the three set down the axe and sat on the steps, shoulders heavy with exhaustion she hadn't seen before. There's a blood curse, he began, placed on the three of us by an elder wolf the last time you died. Because you tried to sever both bonds. No one's ever done that before. She swallowed hard. What does it do? It forces the cycle to repeat. Every time you return, you have to choose. And every time, if your soul isn't whole when the choice is made, you die again. Her voice cracked. How many times have I? This is the third, he said, magic rekindled back inside. The air shimmered with something she couldn't explain. The journal had activated something in her. Luna's skin buzzed. When she touched the window pane, frost spiraled outward in swirling patterns, uncontrolled magic bleeding through her fingertips. Ronan watched with awe. Your awakening. Is that dangerous? It's inevitable, he said. But yes, if your magic outpaces your body, it can consume you. Luna gripped the counter. So I'm on a clock? He nodded grimly. The blood moon is in 2 weeks. That's when the bonds finalize. If you haven't chosen, if you haven't stabilized, your soul might not survive it. She closed her eyes, pulse racing. 2 weeks. Lucien returns that night. She felt the shift in the air before she heard his footsteps. Lucien stood at the tree line, backlit by moonlight, hair tousled, coat billowing in the breeze. His presence was magnetic. Ronan stiffened. You came back, Luna said. Lucien's eyes were sharp. You unlocked the journal. I felt it. I didn't mean to, it doesn't matter. You were meant to. He approached slowly, but Ronan stepped between them. Lucien scowled. Still guarding her brother? Ronan's jaw tightened. Someone has to. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to talk. Truth between brothers. They sat by the fire, Luna between them. The tension was a living thing. Lucien spoke first. We were fools to believe fate would bend for us. Ronan's laugh was bitter. It never has. Lucien looked at Luna. You have a right to know everything. Even what I never told you before. He pulled back the sleeve of his shirt. On his forearm was a matching mark, the one from the journal. I took the blood oath. Without your consent, he said. Back then, I was desperate. I didn't want to lose you. Luna stared at the mark. You bound me? Yes, Lucien said. But it didn't hold. Because part of you never wanted me to. The power of Shoaseluna stood, her heart thundering. You both knew what I was, what I carried, and neither of you told me the truth until now. Ronan lowered his head. Lucien's voice broke. We were trying to protect you. No, she said. You were trying to keep me. The room fell silent. She looked from one to the other. I'm not a prize. I'm not a tool. And I'm not some cursed reincarnated soul for you to fight over. A shimmer of light flickered in her eyes, moonlight born from fury. Lucien whispered, You're becoming her again. No, Luna said. I'm becoming me. The next morning, Luna woke with a shiver. The cabin was quiet to quiet. A thin layer of frost glazed the window panes. Though the fire had burned all night, something was wrong. She reached for the journal, but it was gone. Panic bloomed in her chest. Ronan? She called. No answer. She checked outside. The woodpile still steamed from fresh cuts, but no sign of him. Then her eyes caught something, tracks in the snow, leading into the woods. She didn't hesitate. Throwing on her coat, she followed the path barefoot, heart pounding. Each step echoed like a warning in the frozen silence. The clearing, she found them in a clearing bathed in early morning light. Ronan stood tense, arms crossed, facing Lucien, who held the journal in his hands, its pages flapping in the wind. You shouldn't have taken it, Ronan growled. Lucien didn't flinch. And you shouldn't have kept it from her in the first place. Luna stepped forward. Both of you stop. They turned. Lucien's expression softened. Luna, I'm trying to protect you. She looked at the book. By stealing the one thing that helps me understand what I am. I'm trying to shield you, he said, from what's coming. The choice they made. Luna snatched the journal from his hands. Tell me, she said coldly. Tell me what you've both done. Lucien glanced at Ronan, then back at her. We made a deal, long ago, before you came back. Ronan's face darkened. Don't. She deserves the truth, Lucien snapped. We agreed if you ever returned, we'd force the bond to break. Luna's blood went cold. You were going to break the mate bond? She whispered. Lucien stepped forward. You were dead, Luna. You died in my arms. We didn't know if you'd ever return. And if you did, if fate tried to twist us into that cycle again, we swore we wouldn't let it. Breaking the bond, Luna staggered back. You would have taken my choice again, she said, voice shaking. It was to protect you. Ronan's voice cracked. You don't remember what it did to you, how it tore your soul apart. I don't care what your intentions were, she said. You both betrayed me. Lucian looked away, shame clear on his face. Ronan stepped forward. We couldn't let the curse kill you again. Luna's eyes flashed silver. I'd rather die with my choice than live with someone else's. A pulse of power burst from her chest. The snow around her melted in a perfect circle. The Splitch walked back to the cabin alone. Neither followed. Her body trembled with grief, rage, betrayal. Her magic crackled beneath her skin, raw, unstable. Sparks leapt from her fingertips as she grabbed the doorframe. Inside, the walls felt too close, the air too thin. She screamed. The windows cracked. The mirror above the hearth shattered, and in the broken glass, she saw her reflection, eyes glowing with moonlight, hair haloed in silver. She didn't look human anymore. She looked like something ancient, something divine. The vision that night, the moon goddess came to her, not in dreams but in the mirror. Luna stepped forward, drawn by a pulse she couldn't resist. Her reflection blinked and smiled. You're beginning to understand, the goddess said, her voice layered like wind through trees. Why me? Luna asked. Why do I have to choose? Because only you can break the loop, the goddess replied. Your heart is the key. Luna's chest ached. But they betrayed me. They feared losing you, the goddess said. And fear makes monsters of us all. Luna's voice wavered. Then why do I still love them? Because love, the goddess whispered, was never meant to be safe. The sacrifice. The next day, Ronan returned alone. His face was pale, drawn. He knelt in front of her fire like a man condemned. I need to tell you something, he said, voice hollow. She said nothing. I've unbound my end of the mate bond. Her heart lurched. What? There's a ritual. Painful. Dangerous. But I did it. You're free to choose, really choose now. Luna stared at him in disbelief. You'd give up the bond? He looked up, eyes rimmed in red. If it means you live, yes. Her tears fell silently. I didn't want to be your burden, Luna. I wanted to be your choice. The Kosha helped him up. He winced, his arm covered in claw marks, skin seared where the ritual had marked him. You're bleeding, she said. He smiled faintly. That's part of it. Does it hurt? Only when I breathe. A laugh escaped her, broken and soft. You idiot, she whispered. You beautiful idiot. He looked at her, something tender and raw in his gaze. Do you forgive me? I don't know, she said honestly, but I'm trying. And that, he knew, was enough. The forest howled, not with wolves this time, but with wind. Branches snapped in the dark like brittle bones. Luna stood at the edge of the cliff near the old moonstone altar, her heart beating in sync with the storm. Ronan had sacrificed his bond. Lucian hadn't spoken to her since the confrontation, and the blood moon would rise in less than 48 hours. The air tingled with something ancient. Magic stirred wilder than before, and in the pit of her stomach, Luna felt it. Something was coming. She turned toward the path home. That's when she heard it, the scream. The attack, it echoed through the trees like a dying soul. Luna's instincts kicked in before her mind could catch up. She sprinted through the trees, dodging roots and shadows, her breath forming plumes in the icy air. She found Lucian, on his knees. Blood dripped from his mouth, and claw marks slashed across his chest. Behind him, 3 shifters circled, taller than any she'd seen, eyes glowing red, twisted by something darker than the moon. Get away from him, she shouted, magic surging. One of them turned, a male, his form half shifted, mouth lined with blackened fangs. The girl, he snarled. She's the key. They lunged, unleashing the moonlight. Luna's eyes snapped white. Magic exploded from her chest in a blinding wave. Trees bent, snow evaporated. The shifters screamed as moonlight burned into their skin. She moved without thinking, hands glowing, voice speaking ancient words she didn't know she knew. Lunara saw Mira. One dropped instantly. The second tried to run. The third made it to Lucian until Ronan leapt from the shadows, tackling him midair with a roar that shook the ground. Steel met claw, magic met blood, and in that moment, they weren't 3 broken souls, they were a pack. Aftermath. When it was over, the forest was silent again. Lucian coughed, collapsing into her arms. His blood stained her coat. She didn't care. You idiot, she whispered, pressing her forehead to his. Why didn't you call for help? I thought I could handle it, he rasped. You can't even handle spicy soup, Lucian. He smiled weakly. Ronan came to stand beside them, clutching his ribs. They locked eyes. No hatred now, just understanding. You came, Luna said. He nodded. Always. The confession later. Back at the cabin, Lucian rested in her bed while Luna cleaned his wounds. Ronan stoked the fire in silence. It was quiet, too quiet. Luna broke it. Why didn't you tell me? She asked Lucian. About the rogues. About what they were planning. Lucian turned his face toward the ceiling. I didn't want you to feel responsible. She touched his hand. I already do. His fingers tightened around hers. I never stopped loving you, Luna. Even when I thought you were gone. Even when fate threw you at Ronan. I tried to hate you both. But I couldn't. She looked away, blinking hard. I hated you, she whispered. For years. For leaving me. For letting me go without a fight. Lucian's throat bobbed. I thought that's what you wanted. I didn't want to die alone, she said. But I did. Silence. Then Ronan spoke from the corner. We can't change what happened. But we can choose what happens next. Forgiveness and fragilitarian stood between them, heart torn, two mates, two versions of love, one who protected her fiercely but silently, one who let her go to save her soul. She turned to Ronan. Why did you really sever the bond? He hesitated. Because I didn't want you to choose me because of a pull you couldn't control. She stepped closer. And if I choose you because I want to. His eyes flickered, but he said nothing. Luna turned to Lucian. Would you forgive me if I don't choose you? His voice cracked. I'd die before I hated you again. A new moon rising that night. She sat alone under the stars. The moon above wasn't full, but it pulsed with the quiet promise of truth. The blood bond was changing. The curse was thinning. Something was unraveling. From the forest edge, a voice called softly. Luna. She turned. Ronan stepped into view. He held something out, her journal, gently restored. I added something, he said. The last page. She flipped through, heart in her throat. The final entry wasn't in her hand, but in his. You are not my curse. You are my salvation. Her breath hitched. Tears filled her eyes. I still don't know what I'll choose, she whispered. He nodded. Then let me walk with you while you decide. Chapter begins. The moon was rising. Not the blood moon, not yet, but enough to flood the clearing in silver light, casting sharp shadows across the grass. The ancient moonstone altar glowed softly, humming with energy that danced over Luna's skin like a memory she couldn't name. She stood alone, at least. She thought she was, until she heard him behind her. You always come here when you're torn, Ronan said. She didn't turn. And you always find me. He stepped closer. Because I feel you, even now, even without the bond. That made her chest ache. I used to hate that, she said. The pull, like my heart wasn't mine anymore. And now? I think it was never just mine to begin with. The heart's confession moved beside her, hands tucked in his jacket, eyes on the altar. When I broke the bond, Ronan said slowly, it wasn't because I stopped loving you. It was because I finally understood. Love has to be a choice, or it isn't real. She finally turned to face him. Ronan, she whispered, I didn't just come back to this town because of fate. I came because a part of me never stopped loving you either. His jaw clenched, but he didn't move. You were cruel, she added. When we were young, you mocked me, chased me, made me feel like I didn't belong. I know. But you were also the one who saved me from that rogue wolf when I was 14. The one who pulled me from the river when I nearly drowned. The one who left me alone, even though it broke you, because I was dying. I would have let the world hate me, he said, if it meant you lived. She touched his chest. I choose you. His breath caught. You're sure? She smiled through the tears. I chose wrong before. I won't do it again. The mate bond rekindled. The air between them shimmered. The moonstone lit brighter, as if reacting to her words. And in that quiet moment, Luna felt it, not the old force bond, but something new. Voluntary. Sacred. Ronan took her hand, pulling her into his arms, and when his lips found hers, the bond didn't crash back like a tidal wave. It bloomed warm, slow, pulsing like a heartbeat. The moon goddess was watching, and for once, she didn't feel punished by fate. She felt chosen. Lucian's goodbye. The cabin was quiet when she returned. Lucian sat by the hearth, her journal in his lap. He didn't look surprised when she walked in. You found your answer, he said. I did. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then I'll leave before the blood moon. You don't have to. I do, he said gently. Because staying would be pretending I'm not still in love with you. She sat beside him. I never meant to hurt you, Lucian. I know. And I'll heal. Eventually. He rose, brushed his lips against her forehead, and whispered, he'd better never give you a reason to regret this. He won't. I hope not, he said, and left without another word, a new kind of bond that night. Luna lay beside Ronan, their hands tangled under the blanket, his chest rising and falling steady against hers. Do you feel it? He asked softly. She nodded. The bond? No, she said, smiling. The peace. He kissed the crown of her head. You're everything I didn't know I needed, and you're everything I was too afraid to want. Pack Matters. The next morning, Ronan led her to the hollow, the sacred place where pack matters were settled. Dozens of wolves stood in human form in the mist, eyes flickering as Luna stepped beside their alpha. She's human, someone muttered. She was. Ronan corrected. Now she's mine. Our future Luna. One of the elders frowned. The blood moon rises tomorrow. The prophecy ends with her, Ronan said. Or begins with her. Either way, she's not going anywhere. The wolves murmured. Some nodded. Others growled low. Then Luna stepped forward. I didn't ask for this, she said, voice steady. But I won't run from it either. I've faced death. I've been marked by fate. I've chosen him and this pack. If you can't accept that, she raised her chin. Then you don't deserve him. A beat of silence. Then, one by one, wolves dropped to their knees. Submission. Acceptance. The moon goddess speaks that night. As Luna slept in Ronan's arms, a soft glow filled her dreams. A woman with silver eyes and hair like starlight stood in a moonlit glade. You have chosen well, the moon goddess said. I almost didn't, Luna whispered. Choice is part of destiny. You cannot break fate, child, but you can walk it your way. Luna looked at her. What happens now? Now you must face the blood moon together. The final test. And if we fail? The goddess smiled sadly. Then even love may not be enough. Luna woke with a start. Ronan stirred beside her. What is it? She clutched his hand. The moon goddess, she said. She gave us her blessing. He smiled, but also a warning. Chapter begins. The blood moon rose like an open wound in the sky. Its crimson hue bathed the trees in eerie light, setting the forest aflame with shadows that twisted and danced unnaturally. Even the wolves grew restless. Some paced, others growled low, their instincts reacting to something older and darker than they understood. Luna felt it in her bones. The curse wasn't just a story. It was waking up. The moonstone altars warning. Ronan stood at the edge of the clearing, shirt discarded, breath rising in steam. His eyes were full wolf golden and sharp, but it wasn't him Luna feared. It was the stone, the moonstone altar, glowing blood red now, pulsed like a heart. Cracks spidered across its surface, and from within came a low hum that shook the earth. It's breaking, Luna whispered. No, said Ronan. It's summoning. Before she could ask what, a roar echoed through the forest. Not a wolf, not anything natural. The trees shook, and then he emerged. The shadow Alfeet was twice the size of any normal shifter, fur black as pitch, eyes like smoldering embers. He walked like a king, like a beast who'd once ruled and been cast out. Luna felt the name without needing it spoken. The Shadow Alpha. He was cursed, Ronan said, stepping in front of her. Centuries ago, the first Alpha who defied the moon goddess. The one who tried to control the mate bond instead of honoring it. The Shadow Alpha's voice was deep, distorted. You are the bloodline of betrayal, he growled. And now, the mate of one who broke the mark. Luna stepped forward. I didn't break it. I claimed it. I chose. You defied fate. I embraced it. On my own terms. But the Shadow Alpha only laughed. Then watch as fate devours you. The battle lunged at them. Ronan shifted mid-leap, intercepting the monstrous wolf with a bone-rattling crash. Fur and fangs collided, claws raked, and the ground tore beneath them as they fought in a frenzy of snarls and blood. Luna backed away, heart in her throat, but something called to her from the altar. The cracks on the moonstone spread. Inside it pulsed a soft silver light, pure and untouched. The moon goddess's magic. She stepped forward. Luna, no, Ronan shouted, thrown into a tree, but she ignored the fear. She pressed her hand to the altar, and it responded. The vision light swallowed her. Suddenly, Luna stood in a realm of stars. Before her, the moon goddess waited, serene and sorrowful. You must end what was begun, the goddess said. Only your blood can choose. Choose what? To seal the curse, or let it destroy everything. Images flashed, the Shadow Alpha rampaging through the pack. Ronan broken, blood and fire. I choose to seal it, Luna said, voice firm. But not by erasing the bond, by honoring it. The goddess smiled. Then speak your vow, child, and mean it. The vow back in the clearing. The altar burst with silver fire. The shadow alpha turned just in time to see Luna raise her hands, glowing with the moon goddess's blessing. I am Luna Ember Vale, she declared, daughter of no bloodline, chosen by fate, forged in choice. I vow to honor the mate bond not as a chain, but as a promise. I choose Ronan Nightfall. The magic surged. The shadow alpha screamed, his form distorting. He clawed at the sky, howled one final curse, then shattered into ash. Aftermath. The forest fell silent. Ronan, wounded and gasping, shifted back to human form. Luna rushed to him, helping him to his knees. You did it, he rasped. No, she said softly. We did. Their bond shimmered visibly in the air between them, a silver thread, pulsing softly, wrapped around their hearts. The moonstone altar went quiet, restored and whole again. The curse was gone. The pack's response back at the hollow. The pack gathered under the fading red moon. One by one, they knelt not just to Ronan, but to Luna, their Luna, and for the first time, she didn't feel like a stranger in this world. She felt home. Chapter begins. The morning after the blood moon dawned quiet, golden, and still. The forest, once cloaked in shadow and storm, now gleamed with dew and healing light. Birds sang again. The air smelled of pine, moss, and peace. Luna stood at the edge of the lake, watching ripples spread across the glassy surface. Her reflection stared back, bruised, yes, but glowing. Ronan stepped beside her. He hadn't spoken much since the final battle. His wounds were healing quickly, shifted resilience, but something in his eyes was still fragile. You're really staying? He asked, voice low. She nodded. If you'll have me. Ronan blinked, then chuckled softly. You faced the shadow alpha and sealed an ancient curse with a vow to the moon goddess. I think you've earned your place. She turned to him, more serious. Not just in the pack, with you. The broken bond revisited. They walked back to the hollow together. Luna's thoughts drifted inevitably to the first mate bond, to Killian. He hadn't returned since the blood moon. No word, no howl, no goodbye. Maybe that was his answer. Or maybe, like her, he was healing in his own way. Ronan caught her hand. You don't have to pretend you don't miss him. It doesn't make you disloyal. Luna looked down. He was my first bond, but you're my choice. I don't need to be the first. I just want to be the one who stays. That silenced her, because that's what she'd needed all along. A new alpha. Luna. Later that day, the pack gathered for the binding ceremony. Not a wedding, not yet, but something older, more sacred. A recognition of Luna's role, the alpha's fated partner, the one who'd face darkness not with fangs, but with love. They painted her hands with moonflower dye, the symbol of rebirth. Ronan cut his palm in hers, letting the blood drip onto the sacred stone, this time not to awaken a curse, but to seal a bond of life. When their fingers entwined, the pack howled in celebration, a chorus of unity, of peace. Killian's returned that night. Luna sat alone near the tree line, unable to shake a strange pull in her chest. And then, he came. Killian. His eyes were tired, his shirt torn, but his gaze was steady. You survived. So did you. He gave a faint smile. I felt the bond snap when the shadow alpha died. I thought I'd lost you completely. Luna stood. You didn't lose me. I let you go. He flinched, but nodded. I was wrong to push you into the bond. I thought claiming you meant keeping you safe. You thought you knew what I needed better than I did. He laughed bitterly. Alpha instinct. They were silent for a moment. Then, Luna said softly, thank you for loving me, even when it was wrong. Killian nodded. Thank you for choosing yourself. And with that, he turned and walked into the trees, free. The moon goddess smiles later. Under the silver light of a now whole moon, Luna found Ronan in the clearing where it had all begun. He turned as she approached, a small smile on his face. You always find me here. I think this is where I found everything. He pulled her close, hand resting over her heart. Do you feel it? She nodded. The bond? No peace. And for once in her life, she did. 1 month. Laturth Forest no longer felt haunted, where once Luna had flinched at every shadow. Now she walked barefoot across the mossy floor, feeling the earth welcome her with each step. The hollow had become home, not a hiding place, but a sanctuary. Spring melted into summer. The pack rebuilt what had been broken physically and emotionally, and Luna found a rhythm she never thought she'd have again. She was no longer the broken girl who ran from the city in the dead of night. She was Alpha Luna now, not because she held power, but because she had survived pain and stayed soft, because she chose love. Without forgetting herself, letters never sent some nights. She still wrote letters to Killian. Most she never sent, but just one she tied to a pine branch by the edge of the northern trail. It read, I think the moon goddess gives us more than one great love, but only one who sees you, all of you, and still stays. I hope you find yours. I think I found mine. The next day, the letter was gone, and in its place, a single white feather, a silent goodbye, a blessing. Cabin by the stream. Renan built her a small cabin just beyond the stream, between the wildflowers and the whispering pines. A place for you, he said, not for us. That meant more to Luna than any vow. She painted the walls herself, planted herbs outside the windows, and let her hair grow wild again. Some days, she woke to the sound of Ronan chopping wood. Other days, she woke in his arms, but always she woke feeling safe. A visit from the moon priestess. O night, under a full moon that shimmered like polished bone, a figure cloaked in silver arrived at the edge of the clearing. The moon priestess. She knelt before Luna, placed a pendant in her palm, a crescent moon made of obsidian and moonstone. You walk the path of shadow and light, the priestess whispered. You broke a blood curse without breaking your soul. Luna looked up, heart pounding. Why me? Because fate doesn't choose the strongest, the priestess said. It chooses those who are willing to feel. The pendant pulsed with warmth. From that day forward, Luna wore it always, a reminder that her scars were sacred. The first shift it happened under the wolf moon. Her bones ached. Her skin burned. She dropped to her knees, certain she was dying. But Ronan held her through it all. He whispered to her, guided her. And when her wolf burst forth in a shimmer of silver and violet, he howled with joy. The pack welcomed her under the stars, their newest sister. She wasn't just the alpha's mate anymore. She was one of them, whole. One evening, sitting on the porch as fireflies danced in the tall grass, Luna wrote in her journal, I thought love meant choosing one path forever, but sometimes it means having the courage to turn back and take the right one even if it hurts. I chose the wrong mate once, and it almost destroyed me, but it also led me here. To the man who never tried to own me, just walk beside me. To the pack who saw the cracks in my heart and didn't flinch. To the wolf inside me who finally howled back. To the moon, the wild, and the girl I used to be. Thank you. I'm not lost anymore.